Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage. Today we are going to be working on the Sedan delivery again. Now that we have the last little bit of parts kind of coming in, we're able to finish this thing up and we can get it on the road for this summer, which is very exciting. So last time, Steve and I tackled making that bracketry to convert it to hydraulic brakes using some of the original mechanical brake parts. Now, shortly after that video, our Columbia rear was basically getting finished. So it's due to arrive today, tomorrow, very soon. So we're gonna get started on the next part of the project, and that is taking the old factory 34 rear out of this, putting the 37 to 40 Columbia rear underneath of it, the factory 2-speed overdrive rear underneath of this, finishing the juice brakes, everything that's involved in all of that, drive shaft, torque tube, all that stuff. And hopefully by the end of this, we will have juice brakes all hooked up and working, and we have a Columbia rear underneath this thing so we can move it again under its own power. That is the goal. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be a huge upgrade on this thing. So let's get started. All right, so Steve got the rear all pulled out, and sitting here, our buddy George, another friend George, not George did the rear, is interested in this rear for his 34 pickup, so we're just basically going to leave that all together, and he's going to rebuild this rear with a better ring and pinion for his own vehicle. And like we always do with all this stuff, we're always trying to save and pass on as much as we can. So he and I are going to do a little trading for some parts he has, and we'll get him something he needs, I'll get something I need. But we're going to be keeping the wheels and tires, of course. I had to dig deep in the bin. We pulled this 39 Mercury rear that I had kicking around out, and it actually had, the brakes were all totally redone on this thing, and then never really hit the road. So the shoes are new, all that stuff's all been redone. And the biggest thing was we're running low on drums. So got these drums. Try and flip them up here. But these drums were cut and never run. You can see they're all cut, and other than just a little tiny bit of surface rust, these were all totally redone. We got lucky on this one. So Steve can just basically clean them up, and we're going to steal all the parts from that, move it to the Columbia. We'll probably dust some paint in some different areas that need to be painted. And I started yesterday by getting the shackle pins mounted in the rear. And then we're going to put them in the spring here. This is a 40 type spring. And the big project we need to do now is we need to grind the spring so that it fits. The 32 to 34 Fords, they have a curved spring. So there's one sitting here. I'll just show you the top spring. It's really easy to see when you pull a spring out. So the top spring, one of the top springs here, see how it has this curve to it. For whatever reason, Ford did that 32 to 34, and those springs are all interchangeable, but it makes it a pain when you want to put a later rear in because it affects how the rear, you can't just put one of those springs on a later rear. The perch spacing is different, and also it changes where the axle sits in the wheels sit in the wheel well. So what the old time trick to do is you grind just where that cross member sits, you grind these springs a little bit, and then it gets it to slip up in the cross member. Then you can run the 37 to 40 spring on the 37 to 40 rear, but it fits the 32 to 4 cross member. If you're not confused, you should be. But basically the cliff notes are we have to grind the shit out of that spring, and we have to make stuff fit, and then we can start on our torque tube shortening. clicking. That fan's doing some weird. All right, we'll stop real quick here and just show you guys kind of what we're doing. We get a lot of questions on the channel about brake lines and juice brake conversion stuff. So this is some of the nerdy stuff that some of you may not care about, but we do get questions about. So Evan ended up making basically all the rear brake lines while I was making some of these tabs and stuff. So just went up, obviously there, and over in the back there. And then we're using the factory clips on these later radius rods. They have clips to hold the brake lines, which is real handy. So he just followed that along there, has them clipped in. And then again, I haven't painted all this stuff, so don't talk crap. But this is a factory part that actually is like this loop that fits in the bolt for the radius rods and goes through the torque tub. It's pretty handy. If you could find these, they make your life a little easier. And what that does is it holds the little T section that you can have your rear brake lines coming off of, going into, has a little clip that goes into it, and then you just make a little jumper line. Now from the factory, there was a bigger distance between the pedals and the master cylinder and the radius rods, but because this is in a 34 and the way we did this bracket, it's a little tighter in here. So what I ended up having to do is I made a little tab that I've TIG welded to the torque tube there, which I've done on a bunch of them, and then your soft line just hangs off of that. I've been looking for a solution. The 46/8 short soft lines, if you can get them, they're starting to get a little expensive, and my local Napa doesn't really stock them, so I have to wait 3-4 days to get them. So we found this solution. We could always put the line in there. It's the same thing. It's a female short line. It's only like 8 or 9 inches long, and then it has these little tabs that are actually like spot welded to it, so you can just hang your brackets right off of it, which makes it nice. A little different than the Ford, but I decided to order a couple of these. It seemed to work out pretty good. So I just made a little tab here that bolts to the cross member. Don't mind my misdrilled hole here. I have to fill that hole. Yeah, so we got the soft line. So you have the little jumper line that runs from the master cylinder down around to the soft line over to there, and then it goes forward to that. So that all seems to work out pretty good. So we just got to do some little tweaks here of the line and everything and get everything snugged up. Well, of course, paint all these little pieces, put it back together, and then we could tighten everything down and hook our push rod up and start working on bleeding brakes. I can move it in my hand. Here we go. One second. Am I even filming? Yeah, right? Yes. Woohoo! Mike's laughing. All right, so we got the rear and everything in like you guys saw, and the brake split up, and we started to put the exhaust back on, and Steve's back here, and he came in this morning. He goes, "Oh, we didn't think about the larger Columbia when we built the exhaust," and by we, it's me. So went to set everything up, and the vacuum canister and the larger section of the Columbia immediately hit. I actually have like a similar piece like this. I had this, which just very tightly goes up around the rear. You can kind of maybe see it up in here on the other side, which is still fine. But because of the larger diameter of the Columbia bell and also the vacuum canister in the front, we have to totally change this. Didn't think about it. So this back section of exhaust here, luckily we have a flange just in front of the rear that I could take off. So what I've been working on here is making a new piece. So now it has I cut it back further to the front of the car and moved the flange. So I moved everything back, and then instead of this coming up and doing like a 180, I cut it off at maybe like 15 degrees or something like that. Added this other piece here that I used from it, and got rid of a lot of that bend. And then we have a straight kind of over the rear, a little further, and then I put a bend right here that's just gonna come down, but it's coming down at a, you know, I don't know, 60-degree angle, because we need it to kind of come out at an angle around the bell. I've also rotated this a couple degrees to try and get it out at the part where the bell starts to go, to narrow to bell in, down to the smaller part, just to give us a little more clearance when everything's suspension travel. The hard part is, it would be nice to have a proper 4-post lift here, because we could have the weight of the car and up in the air. So we have to keep letting it up and down. I have to lay underneath, check clearances, put reference marks, and then tack stuff. So I got this kind of made here. I also think we might just clearance the cross member just a little bit to give me a little air gap there, but give me as much room around the rear as possible. We don't want the rear banging on the exhaust every time you hit a big bump. And I do plan to put parts in this Sedan delivery, so we don't want the rear end to be loaded with stuff and it's sitting on the exhaust or something like that.
Right, you hear the exhaust crunch over every bump.
Yeah, so this thing did move a little bit on me with heat, so I'm gonna have to adjust. I think we'll be okay though. But this is the fun of hot rodding. You change one little thing, and in this case a big thing, but you don't think about, oh, it's basically the same rear, right? Nope. And I'm always
where the exhaust goes.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to be proactive and keep moving forward. So we did the exhaust because we didn't think we were going to have the Columbia. We were going to drive it before we had the Columbia. Well, that didn't work out. So here we are. So I can get my hand between the floor and the exhaust, so we're good there. That's plenty. That's rotated out around. So now, really, it's just a matter of checking clearances. Now, we're probably gonna have to let it down. It looks pretty good around that bell area there.
Nice.
So we're probably gonna have to let it down and just bounce on it. But you can see now I'm over.
Oh wow, yeah.
So that we're still a little close. I'm a little worried there, but we have to. That's what I have to see, because if we have to, I could change the tack.
Yeah.
And rotate it even more a little that way.
Yep.
But I'm hoping that it'll just sneak around that. We do have, I mean, I can fit my hand between there, so I'm hoping there's enough room. And we're aiming sideways, so that's the hope.
Right, yeah, that's the perfect spot for it to go right there.
See if my dreams are crushed. In a matter of putting the lift down one time.
Yeah.
Oh, is there? Okay. Is there a new bottle maybe? Because I had a bottle that was, oh no, that's it. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I thought I had used it up or something. Use the same stuff, right? Same hardener, yes.
That's just touching there.
You could go all the way down. I know everything's gonna come in.
All right, yeah, that's
It's
true.
more,
We're past that point. There you go.
yeah, it's more bouncing, and it is closer. All right, can you step down again?
I'm not on it.
Yeah, can you
Oh.
step down again?
Yep. All right, coming up. There we go.
You're on it now?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, now I got clearance. The other pipe's actually hitting first. So we might have to take this other side apart for now,
Yeah.
so it's not hitting, and address it later. Yeah, I just rotated the pipe on the flange a little bit. And
Okay.
And now we got, I mean, I don't know what it's going to do once we get more clearance, but I think if I cut this flange away and let it rotate up, so I can see where we're at.
Gotcha.
Started much easier that time. Ready to go for a drive?
Yeah. Nothing's adjusted. Everything needs to be adjusted. We tried taking a test drive yesterday. Maybe we'll let Mike drop some shots in. It was very frustrating. We had one of the sets of points we think burnt, and the thing was like running really weird, and then the more we drove it, it got worse and worse to where you could barely pull out. And then we lost spark at the end of the day in the middle of the parking lot with the hot ass sun. Steve and I are both pissed off.
Had to push it in.
And we ended up having to push it in. It was terrible. Not a good ending to the day. So we're hoping today is better. And we ended up just throwing our run stand distributor on for now. I gotta put a passenger mirror on this thing, I know that.
Oh yeah, why am I moving my hand? There's no mirror. It's my tailgate's down, that's the only thing to watch.
And you can see your truck.
You're good, keep going. Keep going. Right there. You can swing her. We're also smarter today. We opened the back window is now down, so we get some good airflow through here. It was a little warm in here yesterday.
Yeah, we want to see what it's like. It's weird having that rear window roll down, but it's probably going to be super helpful. That with the cowl vent and everything.
Oh yeah. Is the cowl vent sealed on this one?
No, it's open. It's a little like rickety. I think it needs some like the hinge needs some bolts or hardware put in. So the idle needs to be adjusted and all that stuff, but this might have an aluminum flywheel in it too.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but it almost feels like it because you gotta kinda
give it a little.
You gotta zing it a little bit and ride the clutch a little more.
It pulled out much better than it did last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the light flywheel was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because I can feel it. It's like when I drive the Stroll car, you gotta kinda give it more RPM and not ride the clutch, but like you gotta give it a...
Let me hop out here. Gotta get a good video of it driving by.
Alright, so we did our first real quick around the block neighborhood drive, and this time, well I guess our second, because our first one yesterday we had some ignition problems.
I was going to correct you, but I let it go.
Yeah, so it went pretty good this time. Definitely needs some tuning and different things need adjusting, like all this stuff. Your first shakedown run, I mean, we're no high-end builders, so usually we have to adjust and mess with a car for quite a while after getting it on the road. So, but otherwise it starts, it stops, it steers. It actually drove half decent. Everything feels nice and tight on it, so that's really good. We have a little bit more work to do. We have some gauges coming in from Williamson Instruments. They made some gauges for us to fill the dash for the oil and water temp. We just have some gauges wired underneath of the dash for now, just to make sure it has oil pressure and it doesn't overheat. So we got to do that. We got to get the front shocks done. We didn't quite get that done for the video, but they should be fairly straightforward. And otherwise, that's basically it. Just start driving it. So I'm really excited because now I can start taking it around to the local flea markets and bopping around town, running to the mill, running errands, put tools in the back of it, start using it as
a sedan delivery, which will be really, really fun. So that's all we have for this one. Thank you guys for following. Let us know what you think of the sedan delivery going down the road and what it sounds like. Thanks, guys. See you later.